It turns out that most small business owners are chasing social media trends that are ultimately just causing them to spin their wheels while ignoring the most obvious autopilot lead gen system that's out there. And that's what today's episode is going to be about. Welcome back to Marketing Made Easy for Small Business Owners. My name is Dan Sieg, and I will be your host. What we do here on this podcast is ultimately give strategies and actionable content and ideas to help grow your small business. Whether you're a digital entrepreneur, you run a plumbing business, something service-based related, this is where we talk about all things marketing, and we're happy to have you here today. Welcome to episode 2, the marketing strategy that you're ignoring that currently actually works. As mentioned today, I'm going to break down one of the easiest, most effective marketing strategies that most business owners flat out ignore, but if they use it, will bring them customers on autopilot without having to chase them any longer. A lot of times I like to equate sales to dating. Right? When you go up to a woman at a bar and you try to tell her, hey, you're very attractive. This is how awesome I am. You should go out with me. That's sales. Okay? Marketing is where you say at that same bar, you catch a girl's eye, attractive woman across the bar, and you just hang out with your friends and put out a vibe that she ends up walking up to you. And ultimately, that's marketing in a nutshell, because marketing and sales, they overlap quite a bit. But what are you doing that actually attracts prospects into your world versus cold calling, cold DMing, cold reach out, putting out flyers, door hangers, mailers, things like that? That's all sales. Marketing is getting the people to come to you because they know that you're who they need. So let's go ahead and get right into it. The strategy breakdown of what we're going to talk about today, quite simply, is your Google business listing. Now, if you're a digital entrepreneur, you're somebody that follows me from that space, I suggest you continue listening, but particularly this episode is going to be geared towards service-based business owners, plumbers, electricians, landscapers, realtors even, things of that nature, because we're going to talk a lot about top funnel strategy that helps you attract, as we just talked about, people into your world instead of you going out to get them. But that said, digital entrepreneurs, there's going to be a lot of nuggets in here as well, so don't think that it's also not for you. It's just specifically going to be for small business, service-based style listeners. So to really get into the Google Business Profile, some of you listening may be familiar with it. Some of you may be brand new to it. When I first started out in e-commerce, I had created a business and put up a bunch of stuff online, drop shipping from China, and I started getting random phone calls from these people in my city that were looking not to so much buy it from me digitally, but wondering if I existed locally to where they could come by my shop. And this was back in like 2017, and I wasn't really sure where they were coming from, and I just kept getting phone calls. And I asked them, I said, hey, where did you get my number? How did you find me? And they were quite honest. They said, hey, I Googled it online, and you popped up as a business here in town. And I was like, interesting. It turns out at some point, as I was setting up my business, I had filled out a form from Google, and I had inadvertently created a Google business listing that was actually getting me customers. And I didn't even try. I didn't try to rank it. I didn't try to do anything. And ultimately what I'm saying is that was my first foray into the Google Business Profile. It was what put it on my radar. And here I am years later doing this as agency work for customers. But it's weird how the world works. But what I'm getting at is the Google Business Profile is essentially, for those of you who don't know, a free social media for your business. Like, obviously, a lot of you are spending time on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You're making funny reels. You're trying to go viral. But think about that. If you go viral on TikTok, that's worldwide. If you're a plumber and you go viral and you get a bunch of followers from people all over the country, all over the world, what is that really doing for you and your particular business? Great, cool, you get a bunch of serotonin boosts, your levels go up, and all of that's really exciting, but it's just not moving the needle when it comes to your bottom line and finances. Cool, keep doing it, but don't depend on that. okay? If you don't already have a Google Business Profile set up, I suggest you stop right now and you go do that, and then you continue to listen to this podcast because I'm going to help teach you how to optimize it and actually drive that traffic. That's going to come here in a minute. But the point of the matter is the difference between Intent-based search and scrolling is a whole different level. So what is a scrolling? Scrolling is you having a long day. You or, your wife, my wife is very, very guilty of this. She goes to work all day. She comes home and she veges out on the couch. Sorry, honey, if you're listening to this. She just decides to unload. She's had a busy work day, so she gets on her social media. Typically, her guilty pleasure is Instagram, and she just doom scrolls, right? She earned it. She should be able to do that, but that's what she's doing. She's doom scrolling, okay? She's scrolling, she's looking, she's laughing, she's sharing things. She is not in the consumer mood, right? She's not looking for a landscaper. She's not looking for a plumber. So if you want to go ahead, go ahead and advertise PPC paid advertising to get in front of my wife to hopefully get her to click, that's interruptive-based marketing. It works depending on your overall objective, but that's the scrolling technique, interruptive-based. Now, intent-based marketing is the complete opposite of that. We have the doom scrolling and the interruptive marketing. Intent-based is when I have a busted pipe, my toilet's clogged, and I go onto the internet, onto my little phone, and I type in specifically, plumber near me. All right? What do you think is going to be more effective to spend your time on? The paid per click ad campaign for the interruptive marketing or the organic intent-based marketing? Right? You're going to convert me every time because I've got a clogged toilet versus selling my wife on a repipe that she probably could use in her house, but she doesn't need it. Okay? It's a lot longer of a sales process in that sense versus the intent-based, I need a plumber 10 minutes ago. I'm going to click on the first person that shows up. So ask yourself, are you the first person showing up? Well, if you have a Google business listing, you're already ahead of the game. You're at least in the mix. But I always tell my clients, the good news is Google business listing is a free service that Google advertises, that Google provides small business owners because their intent is to give their customer, the person searching, the best possible experience by connecting you with with the person that's looking for their services. Okay, that's their whole idea. That's the whole concept. So it's free to the business owner. That's the good news. The bad news is it's free to the business owner, which means that if you're in a highly competitive industry, you're competing with a lot of other Google business listings to jog up per position and rank higher than them. That's, where we come in. That's where this episode comes in because I'm going to teach you how to rank higher. All right. So let's start off by why most business owners tend to ignore Google business listing. Recently, I had a guy, here's his little card here. He was a landscaper in Cleveland, Ohio, and I called him. He hung this little mailer on my door. I was up there visiting for some work stuff, and I said, you know what? This guy's obviously advertising. He's looking for a client. Let me call him. Let me see if I can reverse it, I was staying in an Airbnb, so I wasn't about to pay him to cut the yard there. I don't live in his state, so I'm not to pay him to do that. However, I could maybe get him as a client. So I called him right up the rip. I said, hey man, I'm going to be honest. I'm not looking for landscaping, but it sounds like you're looking for customers. He said, yeah, of course. And I asked him about his campaign, what he was doing, the mailers. He said they were really expensive and, it's called old school marketing tactics. They actually work, just, not as good as the digital stuff, but they do work. They do provide results. But I asked him about it, and he said it's been pretty good. And then I continued to push him. I said, hey, have you set up a Google business listing? Because I had looked prior to calling him. If he had one, I couldn't find it. And he's like, no, I've been thinking about it, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Point of the matter is most business owners ignore it because they think Google is too big, is too technical for small businesses. It's only for the big corporations that Google is great for, right? That's not the case. Google, particularly the Google business listing, is literally made for the small business owner. All right? And I'm talking you, the person listening to this right now. So if you don't have a profile, set it up. It takes a little while because you got to get it verified and all that stuff, but it's pretty simple. They walk you through it. Trust me, Google wants you to be on it, right? So they will help you. They will walk you through it, all of that stuff. If you have any questions, shoot me an email and we can talk about it. Another big mistake that business owners make when it comes to their not having a Google business listing is they think that their website is enough, that people will find their website. Will some people find your website? Sure, absolutely. I don't doubt that for a second, but not that many will unless you spend thousands of dollars monthly on a traditional SEO plan. But again, if you're a landscaper, we're just looking to get people in our community to find us, right? So if I find your website and I live 6 towns over, what good that's going to do me? It doesn't really matter that much. I need to find your local listing in your local market, so when I call you, you actually can come and service what it is that I need. So a website is nothing more than a digital brochure. That's it. It's like making a physical brochure like you did back in the day, 20 years ago, and handing it to people. The handing it to people is the traffic. Because you make that brochure and you don't hand it to anybody, what's the point? Right? You have to physically make sure that people have it in their hands so they open it up and read it. Google Business Listing combined with the website is the exact same process. Okay? The website is the digital brochure, and then the Google Business Listing is equated to actually handing out that brochure so that people visit it. Sometimes people will call you straight from your Google Business Listing. Sometimes they go to your website and do a little bit of research and then decide to call you. Point of the matter is there's the middle funnel, which is your website, and the top of funnel, which is your Google Business Listing. So don't fall into the farce that you think, I just need a website. That'll be fine. Trust me, if you have a website, it could be the best one in the world. You could spend 10 grand on it. Super awesome and wild and beautiful and complex and all of this stuff going on. But if nobody visits it, what's the point? And lastly, the thing that people don't understand when they have their Google Business Listing is how easy it is to begin outranking others. Because here's the deal. If you have these misconceptions in your own head, your competitors are thinking the exact same thing. So just by shifting your thought process and putting it into the idea that, hey, if I start being active, which we're going to get to in a minute, on Google Business Listing, then you'll start moving up. I'll start moving up above the competition. Just going on there and logging in and posting a photo will probably boost you up a couple of spots. So if you're in page 2, all the way at the bottom, and you put in a couple of days of work on it, suddenly you're going to be page 2, sure, but halfway up instead of at the bottom. Do a couple more days of activity on it, you might be at the top of page 2. And eventually you'll be at the bottom of page 1, the middle of page 1, up and up and up. And the higher you rank, you guessed it, you're going to start getting more traffic to your website. You're going to start to get more phone calls to your phone. And what does that equal? Business, customers, money. All right, so how do we get some quick wins right now with our Google Business Listing? First thing you got to do is claim and optimize your Google Business profile. Super simple. You have a Google account. If you haven't set it up yet, set it up, but then claim it and verify that you are the actual rightful owner, okay? So if you own a plumbing business and there's a plumbing profile, Google Business Listing out there, and you haven't claimed it yet as your own, Google needs to know that you exist and it's not spam, because the last thing that Google wants is a bunch of spam Google business profiles out there so that when customers look for your service, they get a bunch of trash. Google wants their end user to have a good experience, because if they don't come back, they'll go to a competitor. Google is Google for a reason. And then when it comes after you've claimed it, the next step is simply to just go and optimize it. And I know optimize is a scary word, but it's really, really simple. Make sure your address is right. Make sure your phone number is right. Make sure your business title is right. Just the hours of operation, just the basic settings that you would make sure are right anywhere else. You're making sure that your contact info is right on TikTok for when you go viral, right? You make sure your contact info and your website and everything is right on your Instagram. So why wouldn't you do it on your Google Business Listing? Just claiming and verifying a profile and then optimizing it with the right information to make sure there's no mistakes will boost you significantly. And why does that happen? Because Google now sees A, you're active, and B, your contact information is correct. Because again, the last thing that Google wants is for somebody to find your profile. They go to the website and there's a typo and it goes to a 404 error page. That's not a good experience for Google's customer. And it's not going to lead you to getting a customer from Google. Another big step on Google Business Listing, once we verified and optimized, and now is just a matter of getting reviews, real reviews, okay? Not that bot stuff that you pay an agency for, actual real reviews. Google loves that, and trust me, Google can tell if you're doing any sort of funny business. So get legitimate, real reviews. And a little tip here, if you go into the back end of your Google Business Listing profile, you can get a specific review link, copy that, paste it into your notes, and then all you have to do is just send that to friends, send that to family, send that to past customers, send it to new customers. Oh, well, Dan, why would I send it to my friends and family? Here's the thing. You don't have to have done business with somebody to get a positive review, okay? Send it to your brother and say, hey, brother, could you review me? And he'll say, oh, well, I've never done business with you because you do something I don't need, right? Say he lives in an apartment and you're a landscaper. Obviously, he hasn't done or hired you to be his landscaper, right? However, you can send him that link and you can just ask him to review you as a person, you and your characteristics, your personality, why others should work with you. Google doesn't mind that. Just get the reviews up. So I always call it the low-hanging fruit, right? Friends and family and past clients in that order. Friends and family are going to review you and your character or your business if they've done business with you. And of course, past customers are more likely to review you because they have done work with you. Get as many reviews as possible. And I know maybe your competition has hundreds of reviews, maybe even thousands, right? And you only have 12. It can be daunting, and that's okay. However, if you do the right things, you push the right buttons, you tweak the right tweaks, you can outrank somebody with 187 reviews if you only have 19, okay? It's just a matter of being active. Don't let that deter you. You have to start somewhere. And another one, this one is super easy. You're already posting on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, right? You're trying to do that viral stuff I talked about at the beginning, but post regularly on your Google Business Listing. As I mentioned, it's like a business social media page, but it's meant for people locally to find you, not all around the country, around the world, like the other social platforms, okay? If you have an Instagram and you have hundreds of people that are in your city, right? Then okay, that's a different story. Post on there regularly too. But what I'm trying to tell you right now is to put that as a secondary approach and focus on the Google Business Listing. And what you will do when you start posting on there, just photos from a job site, okay? Photos of you and your crew drinking coffee in the morning, and just say something like, off to a job, right? Or today's work was a busy one. Just simple things like that, like you would do in a Facebook status post. It's literally that simple, okay? So far, we've claimed a profile. We've optimized it. We've gotten a bunch more reviews, and we started posting. What does that do? What that does is it tells Google that you're a relevant business, and that makes them feel comfortable to show your profile to their customers when they search. So if you're doing activity regularly, Google says, okay, these people are legit. They're in the business. They're being active. We're going to reward them and show people searching for their keywords. All right. It literally is that simple. And again, as I started this out, everybody's trying all of these wild marketing things, but they're completely ignoring the most fundamental, foundational, basic marketing plan of all when it comes to service-based businesses. And lastly, as far as this, how you can leverage Google right now, is using keywords to in your posts. When you're posting, use specific keywords that are relevant to what it is you're doing. For example, like I said, you post a photo of you having coffee with your crew, okay? If I just said something along the lines of, oh, having coffee with the boys, this morning ahead of work, right? That's better than not posting. However, what would be better than that is having some coffee before we get out on our landscaping duties for the day, if you're a landscaper, okay? In that post, it says landscaping. That is a keyword that's relevant to you and your business, all right? If you're a plumber and you post something of one of your employees underneath the sink, take a picture of just his waist down and say, Jimmy working his butt off being the best dang plumber there is out there, right? That plumber word is a keyword. Okay, or you can go bigger. Jimmy putting his plumbing skills to the test by fixing this clogged pipe in a little bit of time compared to, Tommy that does it in longer time. You said pipe, you said keyword, you said pipe, and you said plumber. That's a big deal. Google crawls that. Google sees that. Their algorithm sees that, and they know that you're a plumber. You fix pipes, clog drains. Use those keywords in your posts, and you'll supercharge it as well. Great example, restaurant owners. Okay, here's the thing with restaurant owners is they have a great menu, they have a great vibe, they have a great restaurant business, but nobody knows about it. Okay, I had a client a little while back. Awesome menu, one of the best chefs in town. They had great food, but their tables were empty. We met, we chit-chatted about all of the stuff I'm teaching you on this right now. And after we met and talked about it, I gave them some of these tips and they started implementing them. And suddenly they started getting more menu requests. They started getting more walk-ins. They started getting more phone calls and reservations. And he started thinking, I'm like, wow, the more I post, the more activity I do on my Google, the more activity I get in my restaurant. They were directly correlated. And after a while, he started getting busier and he needed to start managing the restaurant. And that's when he actually hired me to take over the strategies for him. So we just basically took over where he left off and started building off of the foundation that he had done. And now he's got 3 restaurants around town. He's opening a 4th here soon. And it's just a completely different world. And it really just came from understanding the foundations and the concepts that Google Business Listing is. And I promise it isn't complex. It isn't hard. You just have to put your head down and do it. And you're doing so already by listening to this. All right, so let's talk about some actionable takeaways from this. All right, we're coming up to the end of the episode. Ultimately, if you're listening to this and you've made it this far, I want you to take 10 minutes and just Google your business. See if you show up. Okay, see what shows up on the top of the page. If you have a Google Business Listing, it'll show up somewhere. It's just a matter of where. So understanding where it is your online reputation is now is the first step to actually fixing it. So go take 10 minutes. Go see who shows up. Go see who your competitors are. Figure that out first, and then we can begin working to outrank them. Really what it comes down to, are you optimized or are you invisible? And anything past page 1 is known as invisible. And quick win task to actually, because that was your first homework, just take 10 minutes and go look at your ranking, all right? The actual task that you can do is just take a minute to make sure you have a Google Business profile claimed. If you don't, claim it. Boom, got a quick win. And if you do, make a post, just like you would on Facebook. Just like you would on Instagram, make a post and mention your menu, mention your services, mention your employees and what it is you're doing on a daily basis, and we got a quick win. Point of the matter is social media is awesome, and I'm not saying you shouldn't pay attention to it, but really what it comes down to is search engine optimization, especially the local search engine optimization is what is going to bring customers ready to buy. Remember at the outset of this episode, interruptive-based marketing or intent-based marketing. Which one is going to be more likely to convert a prospect into a customer? So that said, if you want more marketing strategies that actually work, all you have to do is subscribe, follow along, check me out on Instagram, That Marketing Dan. Check me out on Threads with the same handle, That Marketing Dan. Comment on this, subscribe, whatever it is you need to do, and pay attention to future episodes. I've been in this business a long freaking time. I'm not trying to get rich off of this podcast. I'm not trying to become the next big podcaster. I am simply making this to help others get to where they want to be. And then once you realize it's a little overwhelming and you don't have time for it anymore, you get your first couple of wins, maybe you remember me. Maybe you reach out. Maybe you send me a DM or an email and you say, hey, Dan, I love your stuff. Could you do it for me? Everybody wins. You got some quick wins. I'll get a new client. The world keeps on spinning, and it's fantastic. Next episode, I'm trying to release these every 2 weeks for now. Eventually, I'll do it every week. The next episode is going to be all about helping small business owners stop wasting time on social media. Ultimately, different strategies that move the needle. Because once we get our Google business profile locked in, Then and only then can we move over to our actual social media strategies, okay? And I'm gonna give you a hint. There's nothing to do with serotonin. It's all about quality over quantity, okay? I'd rather have, if I was a wedding photographer, I would rather have 50 engaged women on my Instagram than 50,000 random strangers from around the world. We'll get more into that on the next episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll check you next time. Have a good day.